Ancient technologies. Polygonal walls. Why are these walls in this odd, weird shape when they could be in blocks, right? Uniform shaped, so that would be easier to build. So why would you build in such a way that looks very time consuming and complicated? Well, it's because the method that they use, or the method I'm going to suggest, actually makes it faster, easier than to do it the square, uniform way. So why are they not uniformed? It's because I'll use this one as an example. Because a lot of the rocks here look a lot similar, like there used to be one piece. So the idea is, well, my theory is, which would work, and it's the way I would do it, by the way, is taking a big stone slab, right, a big, slab of stone, lift it up, and drop it. And the idea is that it hit the floor hard enough, or hit something, like maybe you put like a rock, and then you drop the stone slab on top of that rock, or something hard, right, to cause it to break. The idea is to break that big slab into small pieces, right? Then after you do that, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the pieces, right, and you're gonna put it back together like a jigsaw puzzle. This is why the walls look like jigsaw puzzles. Try to put all the pieces back together, right? In order to get nice sharp edges in this down third, right, and make the pieces fit a lot more tightly, then that's when you start cutting, right, sharpening, right, smoothing out the edges of the broken pieces, and then put them together. And you're not gonna put them together. I was originally thinking like how they did it, like where they stacking on top of each other and stuff like that. And it doesn't seem that logical because it'd be too time consuming. And then some of the rocks are really big and all this stuff. And I was like, one of the easiest ways to do it wouldn't be to build up the wall vertically, to actually build the wall flat on the ground. So that's why I was saying grab all the pieces and then put the wall together like a jigsaw puzzle flat on the ground. Put it together, cut it, shape it. It'd be easier to work that way. Plus, if you're using a water jet cutter, you want the water to go down for gravity purposes, and it'd be easier to cut that way instead of you trying to cut straight. Anyway, you want to take advantage of gravity as much as possible, especially when you're working with stone. So you want to put this flat, cut it, especially if you're gonna be doing stuff like chisel and chisel and hammer and stuff like that. You rather have the pieces flat on the ground, and you from the top chisel down and flatten everything, and cut everything in the shape you want, and then put it together. And because you're just shaping up, as they say, right? You're just shaping up. You're just cleaning out the edges. You're cleaning out the sides of the broken pieces, as opposed to trying to make a whole bunch of pieces that are exactly the same shape. You're just smoothing. You're smoothing out the edges. It'll take a lot less time and work to work around the edges just to get it nice and smooth, and then move on to the next piece, get that nice and smooth, go to the next piece, right? You run through all the pieces real quick and just make them much cleaner. Then put them together. It's like, all right, cool, they all fit. And then you number them, do like a number system, so that way you know how to stack them. And then you take each piece one by one, starting from the bottom, right, from the bottom of your little puzzle, right, and then start stacking them to build the wall. And you just build it all the way up, right, logically, from bottom to top. And this is how you will get this type of effect. I mean, it's one of the fastest, simplest way. Because here's the thing: what if you need to build something really fast, right? But at the same time, let's say you don't have the ability to move large stone blocks. Because why break the slab into pieces, right? When you could move the whole entire thing and just put it up there and bang, now you have a wall. So why would you break into smaller pieces? Well, it makes it easier to transport. It's easier to transfer a big wall in small pieces, right? And put it together like a puzzle, right? Like Legos. So that's how it would go. Another reason for this, polygon masonry, right? Method, um, other than to make it easier to transport the stone by having a whole bunch of small stone instead of big stone, um, is the fact that it will help against earthquakes. So that's so it basically makes it a little earthquake proof. That's one of the ideas behind this type of pattern is to make it earthquake proof. The fact that you put it together without what is it called, mortar or whatever, since you're not gluing these things together, just the sheer weight of all the pieces will allow it to put it together and stay there. Another thing is, like I said, with the number system, you can, if you need to, right, you can number them all over again with like chalk or something, right, and then take the whole wall apart piece by piece, transport all the pieces to a different location, and rebuild the wall there. So that's the other usefulness, is that if you need to move from that location to a different location, and I wouldn't be surprised a lot of these walls that was the case. That a lot of these places, you think that where these places were found was where they were built originally, when in reality this probably was these walls and these structures probably built somewhere else, and it was just moved to the current location. So that's another thing. So that's another thing to think about. You might assume that this was the only place that this stuff was put. This could actually be, this stuff could be moved around, because sometimes you'll hear stories about certain locations. The stones in that structure comes from like miles and miles away. Well, there's a possibility that the structure used to be closer to the quarry, but then they had to move eventually. So they took the structures apart and then moved it, and then rebuilt the structure somewhere else, which is why there's a distance between where they got the stone from and where you found the structure. So that's not a possibility for that. What else? Earthquake proof, whatnot. Another thing I believe is that a lot of these were recycled, which is why you see a lot of these nubs, right? These little nubs sticking out, this, that, and third, and all these other shapes in the stone. How these stones don't look like they were, only the edges are cleaned up, but the surface, like the face of it, right, is still jacked up. It's still the way it was when it was when it was used. And if you look really closely, you see certain markings, like stone was cut from it. So to me, and I've seen a lot of quarries, I recognize a lot of these markings, and it's like, well, that's what happened. Somebody went to a quarry and it's like, all right, we need a big slab, and they cut a big slab out of the quarry, and there's already all these marks from all the stone that was taken from that big slab before. So that's when they broke it, shaped it up, put it together. That's why you get all these weird shapes, because why would somebody deliberately have these little random nubs and these little imperfections of shapes and stuff popping out of the surface of these stones, on purpose? It doesn't look nice, right? It doesn't look clean. And to me, the reason why is because these are recycled materials. As in, like, they were in a hurry to build something, and this is the fastest way to do it, as opposed to take forever to make it all nice and perfect and make everything, you know, uniform and flush. Like, this over here, you can see certain markings there, like scoop marks. You wouldn't deliberately scoop the stone and then put it into a wall. That's a waste. That's extra activity for what? Just to make it look terrible because it literally has scoop marks on it? No. Clearly, the reason it has the little scoop marks on it is because this used to be, obviously this was part of the floor, the wall, whatever, of a quarry, and these are the scoop marks that are left on the wall from cutting, cutting, stone off of it, when you're quarrying, and then they just like, all right, let's cut a big giant slab, break it, and then move the pieces, and then do this. Another thing is that, like I said, when I was saying recycling, it's the fact that the quarry that these stones were found from were quarries that were used by other people, not the same people who built this, right? So they're not the ones who cut at that quarry and then cut these blocks out in order to, big slab and then break it and do all the stuff I said to make these walls. Those quarries were already used before them, before that civilization. Then they came in and it's like, all right, well, we need to build some stuff. We need to build a wall. And they used this method. And they was like, all right, let's cut a big slab of rock, because it's easier to cut a big giant slab, with the wedge system, concept, and just break a big piece. Like, it's kind of like cutting a slice of bread, right? Just thin slice of bread or a thick slice of bread, and just break it out. And then all you have to do is just break into small pieces like a puzzle, and then start, assembling it, making it look, decent, making it fit. Is the most important part. It doesn't have to look pretty; it just has to fit. And then after that, transport it, build it, and then just go from there. This is why you see, like, you don't. That's why you don't see all these, walls, looking all finished. They look all, jacked up. It's only the edges that are connecting, that are touching each other, essentially, are the only parts that are cleaned up, because the idea is you want everything to fit. You even see I can zoom in. Yeah, right here. Oops, sorry. Zoom in even closer. See right there, right in the middle, you see those three little rectangles there? Those are wedge marks. So like I was saying, they made those holes, right? So they could put like wood and stuff, and then wet the wood, and the wood would expand, which would crack the rock right where those are at, and then you can easily break apart a big giant slab of stone, right? And then work from that. So clearly this used to be connected to something else. Now, if you find these three marks on something else that looks similar to the coloration of this rock, then you're like, okay, clearly those two pieces used to go together. Like, if you look over here, you see some more. See, this one has it. This one over here has some. And so to me, I just see a whole bunch of signs of, like, obviously these rocks came from a quarry, that it was quarried, and it even looks kind of like here they were trying to do a curve that could just be part of the rock's natural crack. But it kind of does look like it was man-made, but it's probably natural. Anyway, you see those obvious markings of somebody putting effort to just break the rocks. It could be simple to just do that chisel method and then just break the rocks into big pieces, and then all you have to do is just find a way to slam the rock until it breaks into smaller pieces, right? And then reassemble the pieces, carve, cut, chisel, whatever you want to use to sharpen, to make the edges more uniform, much better, much straighter, I should say, and then put all the pieces together so that they all fit. And then, like I said, on the floor, and then start stacking them up and make a wall afterwards, which is a better explanation than what other people say. Their explanations, makes it sound way more complicated, way more work. My way makes it faster, which justifies why they use this method, because this method is faster. This is a easier, lazier way of building. It might seem more, tedious, more time consuming, more complicated. It might seem like it requires a 500 IQ level in order to build these, but it's like, no, just took some big rocks, broke them into small pieces, put it together like a jigsaw puzzle, make sure everything fits, and then start stacking it and making a wall like you're building something out of Legos. Well, that's all it is. Sounds so much simpler that way, right? So much easier the way I say it than whatever the archaeologists or the professionals would say. Because this is what I would do if I want to build a wall, and I wanted to do it the easy way, not the big hard way with big giant rock, stone slabs, or make a whole bunch of perfectly shaped blocks and then stack them, which would take a lot of time and effort. It's like, I don't want to waste that much of my life just to build a freaking wall. So this is how I would do it, the lazy way. Let's see what else they got out here. Interesting enough, there's another method that I saw that I was like, ooh, I like that method. It was I don't even remember what the name is. See, something like this. I think, no, that's not it. There's a certain structure. I thought I'll find it, but there's a certain structure where it's like they found some stuff that just the same exact shape as like hexagonal pillars that naturally grows as hexagon pillars, and then they just take it and just stack it like logs and kind of make a log cabin wall. It's like, oh, that is the super easiest. Find stuff that's all in the exact same shape and then just start stacking them, and boom, instantly you make a wall. You don't need to carve, you don't need a break or anything. So I like that mode of this building. It doesn't look as pretty. Like this looks, nicer. Like it looks cool. It looks artistic, but this was done because it was one of the fastest, easiest way. Especially if you're trying to make a fort to protect your people from other people who might want to kill your tribe or whatever. You might want to create a quick fort, and this is one of the fastest way you can make a nice quick fort, is taking a whole bunch of slabs of rocks, breaking them into smaller pieces, and do the whole puzzle thing, like I said, and then stack them, and boom, now you have these nice walls. So of course this didn't take that long when you use my method. Some people will try to make it seem like, oh, this took decades, took hundreds of years to build this structure. It's like, nope, took less than a year. Right? Probably took weeks for or even less than that for each part of this. And I don't think I have much else to say. I just want to explain how simple this was and why it looks the way it does. It looks the way it does because it is the fastest way of doing it. Just break the rocks into small pieces, shape the edges, the outside, to make it nicer, so that way they fit against each other flat. That's all you're doing, is just flattening the edges, so that all way these puzzle pieces can come together. That's the end of the video.